My body was covered in bandages, and there was even a cast on my right foot. I must have broken it in the crash without realizing. The morphine drip was doing wonders, and all the aches and pains within the last 24 hours were a distant memory. I laid my head back against the fluffy pillow, and I closed my aching eyes. The door slammed open with a loud bang, and I sat bolt upright in bed. A man wearing a long white doctor's coat and elbow-length black gloves barged into the room. His eyes were hidden behind large, wide-rimmed black glasses, and the skin on the lower half of his face was peeled back to reveal the muscle and tissue beneath. Blood spurted from the wound and dripped down the front of his white coat. In his right hand he held up a long syringe filled with a pus-colored liquid. I had little time to think as he charged at me. I scrambled from the bed, barely avoiding the needle as he plunged it into the pillow where my head had been mere moments before. On instinct, I grabbed the metal pole holding my IV bags and swung it over my head as hard as I could. The bags burst, spilling fluid everywhere as the metal connected with the doctor's head into a sickening crunch. The doctor went limp and lay twitching on the hospital bed. Blood poured from the wound in the center of his head and onto the one clean sheet. Gasping for breath, I let go of the metal pole and it clattered on the tile floor. I ripped the IV from my arm and covered the bleeding hole in my right hand. I shuffled over to a cabinet and rummaged through it until I found bandages. I wrapped up my arm the best I could, considering I could only use one hand. Step 8 was the one I had been most nervous about. I was deathly afraid of hospitals after what happened to her. I shook the memory from my head and glanced out the window. Pitch black. Yep, that was it. The Hospital of Lost Souls. My goal was to make it down to the first floor in one piece. I knew I was on floor 8 and had 7 more flights to go. I shuffled into the hallway and was surprised to find that it resembled that of an actual hospital. The lights were bright and the walls and floors were clean. I glanced to my left, seeing that I was in a room on the very end of the hall. With how this place was built, I would have to go down every hallway on every floor in order to reach my goal. Dragging my injured foot, I shuffled down the empty hallway and shuddered at the silence. Every room I passed was empty and devoid of sound. At the end of the hall, there was a door leading to the flight of stairs. Gathering my courage, I pressed on. On the 7th floor landing, I could see that there were no more steps going down. There was just a blank wall. The door leading to the 7th floor. Carefully, I pushed it open and I shuffled inside. This floor was much like the floor above. The lights flickered a bit here, but otherwise it was clean and empty, but I could hear the distant sound of typing. As I walked, I peered into the rooms I passed and saw the bodies of people sleeping in their beds. None moved, and if it wasn't for the heart monitors beside them, I would have thought them dead. Instead, they were stuck forever in a comatose state, the fate of those who didn't successfully escape. As I approached the center of the hallway, I could see a nurse's station coming up on my right. I could see the top of someone's head behind a computer and could hear them typing. It was more like they were banging on the keyboard than actually typing. I slowly got down on my hands and knees, knowing that if I was quiet, I could crawl past them and towards the next stairwell. I slowly pulled myself along, listening intently to the sound of the keyboard. I reached the center of the desk when my injured foot bumped into the side of it. I held in a soft squeal and froze. The typing had stopped. My heart began to race, and I slowly looked up.